Welcome to Rogue Bogues. This is episode 35 of the Basketball Podcast. Andrew Bogut joining you with Mike Procopio, Hoop Consultant, the Donut Man. How are you doing?
Bogues, how you doing, brother? Everything's good over here.
Good. Plugging along. Not a whole lot of basketball news this week, but there is the standard soap opera off the court drama, which we'll get to shortly. But it's, I guess, free agency, a few more deals, trades. So we'll just get right into it, I think. Judging on last week, it's been an interesting time basketball-wise with it being a bit quiet. Summer League just ending. But there was a trade the last couple of days, and something we answered last week about Lauri Markkanen. Someone asked us about where we see him ending up. We discussed that we probably thought he'd take the 1 year deal and just, get that the exception, and then go to free agency. But ended up getting traded. So Bulls, Cavs, Trailblazers, Lauri Markkanen to Cleveland, Larry Nance Jr., who I played with the Lakers, to Portland, and Derrick Jones Jr., a first round pick, and a bit more, which I haven't mentioned, to Chicago. So not a huge trade by any means, but I guess Chicago, with all the moves they made, just didn't want to pay Markkanen.
Yeah, I mean, they made their moves, and they just probably didn't want to give the money that they were looking for, Markkanen's camp was looking for. And instead of going the 1 year qualifying offer, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. 80% chance they probably wouldn't re-sign him anyway. And now this time, at least they get something out of it. I'm sure that's going to be a heavily protected pick, although I don't know. But hey, look, it sends Markkanen to somewhere where he could play, and they're trying to do some things in Cleveland, and plus they get Derrick Jones. I'm not a huge Derrick Jones fan unless it's layup lines or celebrity dunk contest, but he's not a bad player. He's not terrible. He's somewhere in the middle to end of your rotation. So I don't think it was a terrible move. And again, Chicago gets something, and Cleveland gets a player that they could play right away. That Kevin Love deal is going to be a pretty interesting deal as far as buyout, no buyout, what have you. It'll be an interesting setup because now you get Markkanen. Obviously, they're going to want him long term. You got Kevin Love, who they don't really want. And then they also have Allen that just signed this big deal. So either Allen, I would say Allen or Love will be coming off the bench. I would assume Love will be coming off the bench and Allen will be starting. And then, with Markkanen, but it'll be an interesting sort of deal in Cleveland,
So do you think, obviously Cleveland are going to give him that extension, correct?
I would think so. I don't know what they're going to give him. I don't know if they're going to max him out or what have you, but I assume that deal was probably worked out. In my opinion, it probably was worked out before the trade, just to get something going. But I'm sure there's going to be some deal in principle soon, just to sort of, I think they have until, if I'm not mistaken, they probably have until Halloween or so to get a deal ironed out, but I could be mistaken on that.
Yeah, Derrick Jones Jr. as well. Yeah, I think with that squad, it's actually not a bad pickup. Like you said, very good in layup lines, real athletic. But with the passing they now have in that roster, Vucevic is a great passer and ball and whatnot. It's actually not a bad option for them. They can get a wing that can run and go for lobs, and they've got some great passes. So we'll see how that fits. Terry Rozier, scary Terry, 4 years, $96 million free agency deal. A testament to him. He was, people forget that he was once stuck in a deep rotation in Boston and wasn't starting. Some games wasn't playing a whole lot of minutes. So, he had to go through that rise and grind bullshit we hear in the NBA, but he had to go through the grind for a number of years. He ended up being a good piece for Boston off the bench, but played himself into a starting role and has banked some money. $96 million over 4 years, a great deal for him.
Yeah, I mean, it always, for a team to acquire him the way they did, for Charlotte, and then re-signing him long term, look, you want something to sort of hang on to as far as going forward. You can't just keep losing players and things like that. They got a nice little team. I don't think they're great by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, you're looking at Ball, Rozier, Haywood, PJ Washington. Now you got Mason Plumlee. They just signed Oubre. They got Miles Bridges, who's a good player. So they got a nice little rotation there that they could probably, in my opinion, they're probably going to be a play-in team. But and to me, play-in team means 9 or 10, not 8, 7 or 8. But they could be maybe sneak up to that 8 seed. I mean,
I agree.
The East,
I like them. They're young. Yeah. They're young and they've got a bit of prick in them, some toughness as well, some young guys that are happy to get in your face. So I like their roster's starting to balance out a little bit. Probably maybe a bit more shooting, I don't know. They've got a lot of athleticism, but I agree with you. I think they'll be 7 to 11. 7 would be a championship for them. For sure. They'll be somewhere in that mix. But great for Terry. Rajon Rondo, we discussed last week. leading into this podcast, it said he was not expected to be in Memphis. That has now been confirmed. They have waived him. Shocker. Don't think anyone's surprised there. But apparently going to be returning to the Lakers. So, Woj just tweeted it, so it's probably gospel. And that's a really, really good pickup for the Lakers again, round 2 for Rondo. But I think that's the much-needed piece they needed off the bench.
Yeah, I remember talking to him in this summer, and probably in July sometime, and I said, "Look, I wouldn't be shocked if you're traded. They're probably shopping you now." I didn't think they would trade Beverly with him, but I said, "I'm basically how the thing ended up. I don't think you're going to be in LA in the next couple of weeks to a month." And and then he goes to Memphis, and look, it's a good. I mean, he would have been an okay mix there to come off the bench from Morant, but they already have Tyus Jones they put some money into. So, yeah, it probably wasn't going to work. And for the Lakers now, they got someone who could, take the ball out of LeBron James's hand, do some playmaking. And he's somebody who people are going to sort of demand some respect. When you could take the ball out of Westbrook's hands at times and LeBron's hands at times, they don't really have a great point guard coming off the bench. I mean, they got Malik Monk and they've got Kendrick Nunn, and they don't really have that backup point guard. I think he's sort of a good mix there and is a good fit there.
I agree. I totally agree. I think getting the ball and the usage away from LeBron at times is a help, and that's what he did. That when he was there, right? Like it all kind of went that way.
People sort of have their preconception about like what Rajon is. Like they got rid of him. He helped them win a title. He's probably their third best player. During the playoffs, they win a title, and then instead of like saying, "Hey, here's $4 million, here's $5 million," you get rid of him. And, don't offer him a deal. And he has to go to LA. You sign Schroeder, which wasn't a good fit. And now you sign Schroeder to decent money, or they traded for him. I forgot how they acquired him, but they got him. They offered him like $80 million. He says no. Obviously, everybody knows about that. But then now you got to get him back. It's unbelievable. Some of these moves that are made in the NBA, some of these moves that are made that you don't have to go through all these 14 other fucking moves to get the guy back. Just keep the fucking guy. He's got value. Give him $5 million. Give him $6 million. He's not looking to start anymore. Look, I'm biased because I love the kid, but still, it just makes sense. The guy, wherever he goes, instead of except Dallas, but wherever the fucking guy goes, he's good with the coaches. He's good with the young guys. He competes. He's an asshole sometimes. Yeah, I get it, but. You're going to be a better team, especially a really good team that just needs somebody to come off the bench. It just, it's a good pickup for the Lakers, but, it's interesting how sort of he's conceived in the whole league,
Yeah, and it's similar with Dwight, right? Dwight's now back there in the same kind of way. He went to Philly for a season after winning a championship, and he's back. So they're running it back, and it's just interesting how things turn full circle sometimes in the NBA. But that's part of the drama. You touched on Kevin Love earlier. There were some rumors that they were progressing. This was 3 or 4 days ago in a buyout. He's owed $60 million over the next 2 years. We kind of discussed this a long time ago, whether he would take it or not, or what the deal would be. But as of today, from what I hear, K Love has pretty much said fuck no. He said, I want every dollar and every cent of that $60 million for my buyout. So I assume he's probably played hardball and said, look, you owe me 2 years 60, give me 50 or 55 and I'll walk, because I don't think he's getting much more than a vet min deal at this point, Pro. I'm not sure about you, so I think he knows this is his last payday. And he said no, so it's a bit of hardball. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, whether they, like you said, bring him off the bench, whether they just say stay home, whether they try to trade him, which they probably can't, or whether he eventually just goes crazy and says, look, I'll take a buyout. I'm not sure how this is going to end. This one's a tough one to call. Yeah,
I mean, it's eventually going to end. I mean, probably after this year, they'll probably work something out. I don't think any team's going to take him on for $30 million. Even a trade and deadline, you still got to pay the guy $15 million second half of the year, and then you got to pay him $30 million for the next year. There'll probably be some stretch out next year, or they'll move on from him. But it's unbelievable, that whole Cleveland dynamic with Love, because when they moved everybody out of town, they then signed him to his deal. So it's why'd you sign him long term? You knew it wasn't going to be a good fit. Here's a guy that wants to win. He's a veteran, what have you. And then you get rid of LeBron and all these guys, not get rid of, but he leaves and all this. And you're going to go young. You're going to hire a new coach. You're going to go young. And you keep the guy in long term. And it's just, it's been a headache injury and sort of back and forth. And you saw a lot of things like on social media about, arguments he's had on the court with coaches or players or storming off and, what have you. It's just been a sort of a weird escapade. And look, if I'm the team, I would assume, Bogues, that like he had 60 left and be like, all right, we'll buy you out for 35. We'll buy you out for 40, something like that. They were probably going to take a big discount on it. He would have to take probably a big discount. So that's probably why he said, fuck off. I'm not taking a buyout. Like you said, I don't think he would get anything more than the veteran minimum unless the team had cap room and just wanted him and signed him for a little bit more than that, maybe a favor to his agent. But yeah, it's an interesting deal, what's going on over there.
Yeah, I don't think we see too much more of K-Love on the floor for Cleveland, that's for sure. And then who knows if he maybe just latches onto a championship team, revitalizes as a bench role guy to come off and nail some threes. But not looking good for K-Love. And then the USA team thing was interesting as well. He just kind of was on that roster and didn't really play, and then there were rumors that he showed up out of shape, and they just quietly pawned him off and just sent him home. It was interesting the way it was handled. I'm not sure. Was there any other news that you read around that time as to what happened?
I haven't. A lot of interesting sort of deals with him, with the USA team, and then the outbursts he's had, the playing, the not playing, the body language on the court. It's just sort of he's had all these little things, and I don't know any of them. Like, I don't know. Look, and unless you're there with them, it's hard to say. And, unless you got great intel, which I don't have, I haven't really heard anything about the USA thing except, they had him on the roster initially. I mean, look, it was a good idea to sort of see if he was going to fit, but the players that they had were a better fit than he was going to be at that particular time. And he probably wasn't in the best of shape. And, the guys they've had, look, he could have been on the team, of course, but I think that the pieces they had, he wouldn't have played. He would have played very sparingly unless they really needed him. So he's not a rim protector. He's a shooter, but I don't know.
See how that goes. He had one of the all-time funniest blow-ups on the court when he was, who was the coach? Was it Boeheim at that time? Not Boeheim. Who am I thinking of, bro?
Oh, no. Beeline.
Yeah, same shit. Close enough. Messing up names like you now. But yeah, that was a funny one where he was told to reverse the ball on the trailer, and then he was doing it all mechanically on purpose, and then just running to the dunker or running to the three-point line.
Yeah.
You can jump on YouTube and type in Kevin Love blow-ups. He's had a few funny ones, but we'll watch that space. Bud from Milwaukee, Coach Bud, 3-year contract extension. Just good to see. There were really no numbers reported on that, but you'd hope he would have got an extension after bringing the first championship to Milwaukee in the last 30, 40 years. So rewarded for great work. Still interesting it was only a 3-year. Usually you get a chip, they usually give you 4 or 5, so they're probably still, not 100% sold. They're probably 99% sold, but yeah, good news for Mike Bud. But Budenholzer with the Milwaukee Bucks, bro.
I mean, talk about somebody who was sort of, dead to rights. They were, closing the casket on the fucking guy, and then he comes and wins a championship. I mean, it's good for him. It's great that they rallied around him. They ended up winning a championship, saving his job. But it just goes to show you, Bogues, everybody in the business was saying he's out, he's done, he's gone. And then he does this and makes this run, and now everybody forgets that, and now he gets this 3-year extension. And I'm sure the organization felt the same way. They probably had almost the ink dried on a deal with some other coach that was going to, take his job, and then he ends up winning the Eastern Conference Finals, and then goes on this run in the playoffs. It's incredible. That's why you can never say never in the NBA. You can never say definitely or never in the NBA because you just never know. It's incredible. So yeah, good for him. You never want to see coaches get fired unless they're a total prick. And he's been a pretty good guy. I've had dealings with him early on in his career in San Antonio as an assistant. Nice guy, always treated me nice and good basketball discussions. But I haven't really been close to him for years. But good for him.
Yes, it is good for him hanging around in Milwaukee. So we'll see if he can get him to another chip. Okay, we've got the inside source for this next one, Pro. Nerlens Noel. You were there with him in Dallas when this all went down. So for those not familiar, Bit of drama. Nerlens Noel turned down a offer from the Mavericks at that point. It was what year was that? 2016, 17? No, it would have been 17 because he was in the trade.
I want to say 17. Yeah,
he was in my trade when Dallas got me the hell out of there to Philly. He was in that trade and he ended up playing the rest of that season. So it would have been 2017, and then in the off season they offered him a $70 million extension. I believe was for 4 or 5 years, and he turned it down and has not been close since. A la what we've discussed about Dennis Schroeder the last couple of episodes. Anyhow, it was with the almighty Clutch agency and Rich Paul, and he is now suing Rich Paul for $58 million, claiming that Paul was negligent in representing him. On the flip side, Rich Paul has countered that argument with suing Nerlens Noel, which I think is just a counter to his court case, saying that he owes him $200,000 on his $5 million contract with the Knicks. So he wants that commission back. But this is interesting because this is a precedent. So I assume Noel's claiming that he didn't turn down the deal if he's gone to court, or he's saying that what I think's happened, if I'm putting on my Nostradamus hat, is that, or what's the word for the past? I don't know, Nostradamus is future, but anyway, I'm too stupid for that. I think he got offered the money from Dallas. I think that Rich Paul has probably said, I have X amount more from this team. Wait till next offseason. They'll max you out. And he didn't have a great year that following year and got hurt a little bit. And that deal was gone. That's what I assume has happened to Nerlens Noel, and that's what he claims is negligent. So how do you see this, Pro? You were there. Give us some goss.
Well, Nerlens is a Boston guy. He played at Everett High School right outside of Boston, next town over from where my town. And he played AAU for the team that I was involved with. Good kid. Had some injury issues at Kentucky. Didn't really play early on. Had some injury stuff that he had to deal with in Philly. And then, we trade for him in Dallas. And yeah, I mean, good kid, does what you want him to do. You just got to stay on him. He's one of those guys that you just can't. He'll have those issues. He had those issues in Philly. This is why they dropped the ball big time in development over there, especially in that era of basketball in Philly. He was late for planes. He did this, he did that, because no one. You got to stay on top of him. When you stay on top of him, he does whatever you want him to do. That's what we did when he came to Dallas. Good kid. Was a contributing player. Had that thing where he had a hot dog at halftime or something at a home game after we traded for you. I don't know if you remember this, but he was in the media room. Somebody took a picture of him. Somebody took a picture of him and at the hot dog.
He was in uniform, right? And, he was suited up.
He was in uniform halftime. And he was eating a hot dog.
Because he was getting DMPs, right? He was getting DMPs, right? He was pissed off by that.
Yeah, I think,
that's all time. Yeah, that is fucking hilarious.
That was the beginning of the end. But so there was rumors they offered him $70 million or so. And so what happened was he had Happy Walters as an agent. And here's what I think happened. And I'll give you my whole spiel on agents after what I thought happened. They were going to give him 70. Happy Walters had a good relationship with the Mavs organization. They were going to give it to him. And, Rich Paul was starting out as an agent, had LeBron, had a bunch of guys, but not to the level that he had now. That he probably told them, lied to Nerlens and said, look, I'll have more money. I'll get you a better deal than this. Just sign with us. And look, you're a young, impressionable kid that's probably taken bad advice most of his career. And most players are like this. Nerlens Noel is not like the minority here. Most people that are in an NBA player's circle, they'll just tell them whatever. And they got bad information. They got bad fucking just bad intentions because they just want to keep the kid to themselves, and they'll tell them anything. And they're getting bad advice. So he probably said, look, I could probably get you 80, 90 million bucks. I got teams in my pocket, and I doubt he even had it. Look, 90% of agents are full of shit. They will tell you fucking anything to fucking have you, they have agents that employ people that sit in the tunnel when you walk out and recruiting players that will be free agents that summer, just to fucking steal them from other agents. There is no honor amongst thieves with these fucking guys, and they will tell you fucking anything. Now, the problem with agents and players they don't understand is players don't understand the agent works for them. They don't work for the agent. So these players, they earn 99% of their money. The agent does the paperwork, gets the contract. Maybe they have a relationship with the team. If they got a cluster of players like Rich Paul has, they could force trades. They could force, if you're a mid-level player, they could say, hey, if you don't sign this guy for $5 million more than he's worth a year, you're not going to have a meeting with my, ex-free agent throughout the summer. So you better fucking pay my guy. That's how that shit works when you have a lot of players and have a lot of juice. But like, if you're not a good player, Bogues, if you're a mid-level player, like, these agents don't give a fuck about you. The one guy that does give a fuck about you is Mark Bartelstein. I really like him because he gets a lot of mid-level guys paid. And he's probably the best in the league at it. But like most guys, they won't take your calls. They won't have teams. They won't have money for you because like they make you think that they're the ones getting the deal. Like there's no deal, but I'll get you the deal because I'm I'm Jerry McFucking Guire. And it doesn't work that way. You're either good enough to get a deal or you're not. Maybe your agent can get you a veteran minimum deal if they got a relationship with the GM or the owner or whatever. But like, they're not giving you $90 million when you're worth $40 million. And that's what these fucking guys tell these guys. And look, he bet on himself. He took bad advice. He bet on himself and he lost. It's not Rich Paul's fault. Because I bet, again, I don't know. I have no intel on this. But I bet Rich Paul lied to him. But that's not Rich Paul's fault. That's just what he did. And the kid had $70 million. All these deals always have early terminates. They have player options. So like if you think you're worth 90 and you're only getting 70 right now, take the fucking 70 and then have the opt-out after the 2 years, after the 1 year or 2 years. And then now you can redo your deal if you play over it. But look, that's what happened. And he thought he was worth more. And $70 million is what it is. And now it's in the dust. And, hey, look, he's back on track now. He's back on track. I think he's $32 million over 3 years in New York. Look, it's not the money he could have made, but fuck it. That's just what it is. But yeah, I don't think he's going to come out right. Like, it's a monumental thing, like for the little guy saying, well, the agent lied to me or what have you, but he didn't do anything, in my opinion, that was illegal. Like the guy, so what? The guy lied to you and pulled the fucking rug from under you. That's what agents do. Like you tell me an agent that tells you the fucking truth. Have you met one? I've met about 2, maybe 3. I wouldn't, if these guys told me today was fucking Saturday, I'd go home and check a fucking calendar and my wallet to see if it was still there. They'll tell you anything. Yeah. Folks, they'll tell you fucking anything. And it's a fucking crime because the little guy is the guy that usually gets fucked in all this. Because like, they'll go to an agency because they've got 8 fucking all-stars. And they're like, oh, this is great. But who gives a fuck? Because they don't give a fuck about you. And now if you play well and you get these big deals again, they'll start calling you back. They'll start doing a lot more for you. But if you don't produce, they'll treat you like absolute dog shit because they don't fucking care. They're making 4% on your $2.8 million. You think they're going to give a fuck about you compared to the 4% they're making on, Johnny Fuckface's $40 million a year? Come on, man. Like, seriously. They've got Nike deals worth $2 million. You got a deal for 40% off at Nike, at the Nike outlet instead of fucking 40 million that this fucking guy's getting. You're getting, so that's the thing with the Nerlens thing, man. Look, I feel bad for the kid because 70 is a lot of money. But look, it's just honor amongst thieves. They fucking, he had Happy Walters. Rich Paul had to get him away from Happy Walters. Maybe he could have got him 50, 60, 70, 80 million, maybe, in the next deal or what have you. And that's just what happens. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
It'll be interesting to see just what the actual suit is. I haven't dug too deep into it, but once the papers are filed in court and there's a hearing announced and all that, obviously we'll find out exactly what the what his case is and what he puts in there.
The big case is Nerlens is saying that it's not just the 70 million. It's that other teams were calling him, Rich Paul, Philly supposedly wanted, and again, this is all hearsay, and no team, because Nerlens didn't really pan out, no team's going to fucking admit to this, on the record. Like, supposedly Houston was going to sign him to decent money. Supposedly Philly wanted to sign him to decent money. You had like 3 or 4 teams, and supposedly Rich Paul didn't call him back. Now, if you can prove that yes, maybe it's a little bit of a negligence. I wouldn't say $58 million of negligence, but I would assume it's something. But hey, look, like him or not like him, you signed with Rich Paul and he gave you that contract. I love Nerlens to death. I've known him for over 10 years. But again, I got to be as fair can be and just talk to what I think. And I think that if he owes him $200,000 on the 4%, pay him I don't care if you're fucking mad at him for not getting a good deal. You pay him the 4% on that deal. It is what it is. That's just sort of how it goes. I think, again, when you say an NBA player says this is a business, this is a fucking business. Hey, look, it doesn't matter how you're doing. That's the definition of being a pro. It doesn't matter how you're feeling. You got to be a or how you're doing, how you're playing, how your team's doing. You got to be a fucking pro every day. And a pro means paying your fucking bill. It's $200,000. You owe him that money. That's it. Now, Perkins went on. They went back and forth. Of course, Perkins took fucking Rich Paul's side because, he wants to stay on the right side of the tracks in this thing. And, anything Rich Paul does, he's going to go with. And so they got into it a little bit on Twitter, but like, I think
Who got into it?
Perkins a little bit in Nerlens.
Oh, really?
Perkins went on this, you know how Perkins is with LeBron and stuff because again, he wants to stay on the right side of things. So he's like all over him, loving him, best thing since sliced bread, all this stuff. And then I think Nerlens like tweeted back actually what he's, like sort of, I don't know if he wrote it on notes or whatever on his phone, but it was basically like all these teams. I think it was a story written. Somebody wrote a story and he just like screenshot it and put it on his Twitter about, him, Rich Paul not calling the guys back. They've got guys like off the record in Houston talking to them about, him not calling back, and he had all these teams and all this stuff. So,
by the way,
I don't know, man.
Did you just call Kendrick Perkins a shill?
A what?
A shill. Is he shilling for Rich Paul and Clutch? He's on the he's got a toe the line. He's basically calling him a shill, right?
Oh well, I don't know what the fuck a shill is, but I'm
lackey. A shill is a lackey. Someone.
What the fuck? Hey, folks, what am I, a linguist? What the fuck am I? Like what am I supposed to do? Like being a fluent and fucking Australian? I don't fucking know. I know I'm a fucking honorary Australian, but I don't know all the fucking terms that you guys use.
I think shill is I think it's derived from Judaism, I believe. I could be wrong, but
look at you. Yeah, look at you, a fucking Buddhist.
Very worldly. I'm worldly, mate. I'm worldly, but yeah. So you're basically calling Perkins a sellout because he won't criticize people if it affects his bottom line. End of the day, right?
He's going to be on their side, yeah, for sure. He's going to be on their side.
Yeah, way to sit on the fence, Andrew Gaze. All right, next one. So we've discussed this, and I just want to open it up quickly. We don't have to get too far into it, but the Sixers, there's constant media reports now around Ben Simmons and the Sixers, right? We discussed, will he report to camp? Won't he? What's going to happen? The Sixers are prepared to keep Simmons on the roster for the start of the season, regardless. So two things here. For me, where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there's a bit of a panic setting in for the Sixers. I think the trade value has plummeted, and I think this is a damage control. Number one, that if they don't get a trade, something doesn't eventuate, they can at least get him in half good mood into training camp and still playing. And number two is they need to get his trade value back up, because teams now know we're hearing Ben won't report at camp anyway, so we're going to give you this shitty deal because you're going to have to take it or you get nothing. And you're going to take that risk of, we're getting closer to training camp now. We're a month and a little bit away from training camp starting. They're in that tough spot now, right? And what do? I mean, if he doesn't report, obviously they can fine him and do all that. The Sixers now are heavily invested in him, number one, showing up to training camp, and number two, playing well so they can facilitate a trade. So the fact that this is being leaked from the Sixers a lot over the last couple of weeks, I think there's some smoke here, bro. I think there's a chance that he's not going to report. He could cause some problems. I don't think Ben's a guy that would report and be a dickhead in the locker room because he's a pretty quiet guy, so I don't think it'll be that. But I think that relationship is strained, as we know, with Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid. Some of their comments towards the end of that run, I think he's really hurt by those still. But yeah, I think they're in some trouble. I think Philly, this one, he's going to earn his money if he facilitates a good trade. More that is, that he's really going to earn his money on this one, because I think there's some trouble.
Well, I think there's been big time balls dropped on this fucking thing. This is supposed to be the summer of Ben, right? Like, this is supposed to be, we're going to get Ben right. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And the owner's got a lot of fucking money invested in this guy. And this guy's not calling you back. He's not calling you back. He's not communicating with anybody from the Philadelphia 76ers organization. If I was the owner, I would say, I want fucking 5 coaches to go out to LA and fucking find him. Find him. Just find where he is. This is your responsibility to get this fucking guy better. And now, supposedly, no one's been with him. Now, again, we don't know this. Maybe Philly has, maybe they finally reached out. But, look, you needed to fix this guy's fucking shot. And it's been, so say at best, August 22nd, you get to the kid. You're going to try to fix his shot in the next 6 weeks. So, he's been working out with a trainer. He's working out with Rondo, and Chris Johnson's a trainer out in LA. So he's working out with him. He's not a shooting coach, so no one knows that. So now you drop the fucking ball. Yeah, his trade value has plummeted. There's no really good pub. Then he tried that fucking Instagram shit last week and it backfired. Everybody say, we're tired of that shit. We're tired of seeing it. We've seen it too many fucking times.
You called it too. Yeah, you called it.
Yeah, you knew it was going to happen. So now, his trade value's plummeted. Now, look, he's a really good player. But this whole thing, he's not a bad guy. I don't think he'll cause a problem if he does come to camp. But I just think you're past that. I think he's got the right agent to back him up. Rich Paul's, he's probably not going to have him come back to camp. He's probably going to say, fuck you, trade me, trade the kid. You set this stuff up. And and I think it's going to be a problem. If I'm them, I'm taking CJ McCollum. You could probably get CJ McCollum today, and it's going to make you a good team. You make you a better team. Shooting rules this league, and CJ McCollum could shoot. He could score. He can't defend. There's things that he can't do that Ben can do, and there's things that he can do that Ben can't do. So just take that. I don't think you're going to get better than that because I don't think Ben's shooting is going to get better. That being said, he'll probably shoot like fucking Larry Bird since I've said he won't be able to shoot. But I just think that CJ McCollum's a good trade. You want all this stuff. I know everybody wants all this stuff, but I don't think you're going to get that for him. And you're not going to showcase the kid because I just think it's going to be a problem. It's going to be, the fans are probably not going to love the kid for fucking shunning this, the team.
Oh man, he's gonna eat a shit sandwich in Philly.
It's gonna be tough,
Philly is
man.
the worst place to be as a home player if you've gone through this kind of off season like Ben has, where he's reportedly not all in with Philly. They hate that shit, and they're gonna. Yeah, if he reports, man, get the popcorn ready because he's going to have to drop 40 balls to at least put a smile on their face, and you don't see that happening. By the way, I got a question about free agency, Pro.
Sure. I may not have the answer, but I'll try.
Is Liam Neeson a free agent? Can we get him out of the bag to find Ben?
Yeah, he's about 79 fucking years old, but you could probably get him. Him, Jack fucking Bauer, Tom Cruise, whoever the fuck you want to get to try.
If anyone can do it, it is Liam Neeson. So
how about fucking Rambo and Arnold Schwarzenegger to find that kid's jump shot?
Yeah, hopefully it all gets right, but I think there's some issues there in Philly, and like I said, Daryl Morey, if he pulls a rabbit out of the hat with this trade, he's got to go down as one of the better GMs of all time because he's got his work cut out for him with this one. But J.R. Smith playing golf at North Carolina, is it AT&T?
A&T. Yeah. It's not a communications company.
It's not a bomb?
No, they don't sell cell phones, folks. They're a fucking college. But
the Warner Brothers, old school Warner Brothers used to have TNT. It was the bomb.
Fucking idiot.
But this is interesting. He's lapping it up. He's posting every day. He's trying to do the studies. He's on record saying that, for those that aren't familiar, he's got a scholarship to North Carolina and to play golf. He's a scratch golfer from what I hear, or close to. Just so he's doing that. But what is he, 35, 36 years old? From his own mouth, he said, I'm not doing this for a laugh. I actually want to study. I actually want to learn. I want to get my degree. So I commend him for that. If he wants to go and better himself with some education whilst doing it for free and playing golf, which is something that he loves apparently, all the power to him. But I thought it's a pretty interesting thing and such a J.R. Smith thing to do, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But hey, look, you know how it is. I remember him. It was one of my first years in Boston was his draft year. And, he was going to go to Carolina. I believe he was going to go to North Carolina. And he had a great McDonald's All-American game. He was unbelievable in it. Scored a bunch of points. And then he came out for the draft and got drafted. I think New Orleans drafted him, maybe somewhere in the lottery. But yeah, look, when you're young, you have that chance to make that money. You're going to make the money. He even admitted he wasn't about school. Most of these fucking players aren't about school coming out. But you know what? 10, 12 years in the league, you figure out, I think for him, it was fucking like 15. Anyways, the guy played 14, 15 years in the league. he figured it out. Like, look, I need to get a degree. It'll be big for me. You mature a little bit. He hasn't matured a lot, but he matured a little bit. And I'm sure he thinks that school is important. I'm glad that he did that. He's I don't know the guy. He's a prick on the court, but he's supposed to be a decent guy. I don't know him. But that's great to see that he's trying to get his degree and sort of go forward with stuff.
Yeah, watch that space when he maybe tees off the wrong way by accident one day. He's probably had a few too many doobies and he sends a golf ball backwards. But anyhow, watch that space. I think it's a pretty cool story. This one I found interesting. We don't have to discuss it too much, but Jason Kidd Pro has visited Kristaps Porzingis in Latvia to let him know that he cares about him. It's a long flight to let someone know you care about him, but that's the area we're in. I've had coaches do that before. Steve Kerr actually flew out to Australia to let me know he cared about me when he got the job. So I didn't really need it, but it was something that he just wanted to do. But yeah, the Porzingis relationship with Dallas has been, as we've reported many times, and it's been mainstream media, that is strained a little bit, but a new coach is doing the right thing. But shit, man, surely you got FaceTime or Zoom.
Yeah, that's a very 2021 thing to do, go out and see him. But you know what? They need to, because he's an important part of what they're doing, Bogues. Like, he didn't have a big role in the team, and we made jokes about him throughout the year as well, and for good reason. I mean, the guy wasn't healthy; he wasn't really producing. Yeah, they weren't really using him the way they wanted to, the way he thought he should have been used. But they need him because look, you cannot trade him. You cannot trade that guy, and he's probably as tradable as Kevin Love's contract, and you can't trade him. So what you need to do is you need to figure out. First of all, I think you got to sort of throw some analytics out the window. The guy's a good post scorer. Look, I don't give a fuck about his points per possession. You can stick that up your fucking ass. But the guy could score in the block a little bit. He can, he can shoot the ball a little. He's not a great shooter. They're trying to think he's Dirk. He doesn't shoot it like Dirk. He never has, and he probably never will. But the guy's a pretty good shooter, and he could score. And you need somebody to take the ball a little bit out of Luka's hands in the sense that he doesn't have to work so hard to get offense. Well, you can give it to him a little bit. I wouldn't isolate to him, but there are situations he could use the kid. Now, the kid probably, he probably thought he's been treated like a redheaded stepchild there the last year and a half or so. And you need to sort of save face with him and say, look, this is the deal. We care about you. We want to see you succeed. We're gonna try to change the way you've been used. Now, here's the thing: you better fucking deliver on that promise, because he will go in the fucking tank if this is what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen at least. This I know will happen. I know they'll feature him a little bit in preseason. They'll feature him in the first 5 or 10 games. Are you gonna feature him for throughout the whole season in a sense where you're gonna give him his touches? You're going to let him do what he can do, or you're going to turn him into fucking Kyle fucking Korver and just put him in the corner, by game 36. You need to use him the way he needed to be used. Look, is he the best player on that team? Absolutely not. But he can definitely help them because they don't really have anybody else besides Hardaway Jr. that could create offense. And the kid could create offense. He could take a little pressure off of Luka. Doesn't need to handle the ball as much as he does or work as hard as he does to get points. You could defer to him a little bit, but you better deliver on your fucking promise, or you're going to lose this kid and everybody's fucked. Everybody's fucked. I think they could salvage this a little bit, Bogues, but I think you got to throw analytics a little bit out the window where they say you can never post up, you can't do this, you can't do that. You got to throw him the ball. You got to make him happy. At least get him to the free throw line. Get him at the ball at the high post. Let him turn face and drive or turn face and shoot. Pick and pop drive. There are ways you could use the kid. But you can't make him a fucking...
At least he feels involved then, right? So you might give him a token 2 or 3 post-ups early in a game, same in the second half, get him involved early, he's getting touches, so he's feeling good about himself, and then you can maybe sell that tale of, hey, we're going 8 minutes of Luka pick and roll with you, or Luka pick and roll with Dwight Powell with you in the corner, and
yeah,
maybe that's an easier sell. But if you're just rolling into a game doing that, I'm not sure our kid's going to play, whether he's adapted his style, but he's generally an open floor, high octane, high pace coach, at least in the last 2 stops. So, that's not entirely suited towards the way Porzingis plays, as you say. So I think they need a happy medium. It'll be interesting.
And he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah,
the kid's got to stay healthy too. And that's not his fault. I mean, the guy works his fucking ass off. When I was with him in Dallas for that year, I mean, the guy works his fucking balls off in the weight room, on the court, does whatever you ask him to do. But he needs to stay healthy for them to to keep their promise. He's got to sort of try to be as healthy as he can. And again, it's out of his hands. But you just can't. You can't. By game 39, he can't be Bruno Sundov with 2 more zeros in his check. You know what I'm saying? He needs to have a role in that team, and that's what I'm saying.
Oh, come on, man. Bit harsh on Bruno. Great Croatian man. I've met him a few
Bruno
times.
Sundov.
He's hilarious.
I love Bruno Sundov.
Funny dude.
Yeah, I love him.
All right, last thing, NBA-wise, Rachel Nichols officially fired. Not in those words, but they did it in a politically correct way. The jump has been deleted off the face of the earth. It's gone, bro. It's out the window. Reportedly, Stephen A. Smith interested in an NBA show with Magic Johnson and Michael Wilbon. I would literally stab my eyes out watching that show, but that's just me. But Rachel Nichols, yeah, you knew her time was coming. We've discussed it at length. We were in a group chat with old Strauss, and we've had some back and forth about it. He's got some interesting takes on it. We'll have to get him back on the pod in the next couple of months.
No, you could actually I uploaded the whole screenshot of our conversation to Substack. Now you have to fucking pay, and you gave me shit about fucking not retweeting fucking Strauss's shit. So I'm gonna tell you this: I will upload our conversation, but you have to be a paid subscriber for a 10-year commitment to Strauss's fucking page. So way more than you did for him, Bogues. So I'm gonna step the fuck up for once.
Man, I retweeted it. You didn't. You were scared. You were scared about all the woke people.
What? Yeah, 98,000 bots got fucking Strauss's shit now? Come on, give me a fucking break.
For those that don't know, Ethan Sherwood Strauss has officially left The Athletic. He's gone. Rearview mirror for The Athletic, and he's writing on Substack, so it's a forum where you can put out your in-depth analysis articles on different topics, and he's a fantastic writer, so I urge you to check that out. And he just started recently, and his subscribers are going up by the day, so that's what we're talking about for those that are a little bit lost. And Pro did not repost his first article, which I did. It was about railing Nike a little bit about how their whole marketing ploy 20 years ago was about masculinity and even the toxicness of it, with Michael Jordan being the face of it, whereas today they've gone complete opposite. They hate it. So an interesting article nonetheless that plays both sides of the coin, but Pro's a bit scared to put it out there, I think.
I've been retweeting this stuff. I've definitely been retweeting this stuff. The problem is the guy, most of his stuff that he writes is like 27 letters in each word that he writes. The fucking guy's at Harvard. I'm a junior college guy, barely fucking literate. It's hard to read his shit, man. I got to bring the dictionary out and stuff. It's a fucking pain in the ass because the guy's a fucking good writer, man. He's got to dumb it down a little bit for me.
He does, especially writing about sports, man. I mean, know your audience, Sherwood. Jesus, There's not people with doctorates.
Put some food fucking pictures, Strauss. Yeah. What the fuck? Keep me engaged.
What do you have on Nichols?
It's typical, Bogues. Like, of course they're not going to have her back. And look, it's a shitstorm. But like to cancel her out like that, it's a fucking joke. It's a joke. But what are you going to do? Like, I don't know the whole political side of ESPN and all that stuff, but like, it doesn't surprise me that they just fucking, for where we are sort of in society, it's just I'm sure her 500 friends that she had at ESPN shrunk down to about 2, and one of which was the HR director that gave her a severance package. And, it just goes to show you, it is what it is. Look, it wasn't right what she said, but like the way they got that information and all that stuff, it's a little cloak and dagger for me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, we hit that, especially the timing of the way of when it came out was right when old girl was discussing her contract extension with ESPN, that she wanted Stephen A. Smith money, and then coincidentally this little leak came out. I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire, as I say for the 100th time. But an interesting one. She's now cancelled off the face of the earth. Doesn't exist, and that's 2021 in a nutshell. But moving on to the NBL, Pro. I don't know if you follow this too much, but your good friend or your mutual friend with Rick Carlisle, that is Connor Henry, has been fired Now get this, bro. He got in the country, which is a pain in the ass to do. It's almost impossible to get in Australia right now with everything going on in coronavirus. We're still gung ho on lockdowns, and getting people in the country is very, very hard. So he went through the hard yards of finally getting in, did his 2 weeks quarantine. A day out of quarantine, I think he worked a player out. Soto, I think, the kid from the Philippines, worked him out. They posted photos on socials, and then the next day he got fired. So he did more time in quarantine.
Any reason why?
Nothing's come out yet. They haven't announced who is replacing him yet. I'm not sure, but I mean, the candidates out there don't know where it's going. John Riley is a name that some people have thrown out. Very, very assistant coach of the national team. He's coaching over in the US in college, and he's obviously an Australian that's based over there. But I don't know if he comes back just yet for that job. But they haven't announced anything. It's just interesting because he, if they, knew that he was kind of on the fence, he'd probably just do it while he was still in the US, right? Making the poor bastard sit in a hotel room for 2 weeks, and finally, great to be back with you guys. Works a guy out, and then got fired. But that's an interesting one within itself. They've retooled their roster. They got a pretty deep roster, so they should be decent. They're very, very talented. So we'll see. But yeah, it's not an opportune time to be looking for a coach, because the season was supposed to start in a month. It's now been announced that it'll be mid-November. Will be the start for the NBL if everything goes okay with coronavirus here, which I doubt. I think it's going to be further delayed and going to be another traveling circus of moving to hubs and different cities, but that's what we're dealing with. The Wildcats, and I saw you chimed in on this one, Pro. They signed Vic Law. He actually had a fantastic summer league. He was on our shortlist with the Kings. I'm not going to lie. We liked him. We can go ahead with him, and a little bit of turmoil. There was some posts, a few Bullets players, the team that he left, were chiming in, pretty disappointed with him leaving, but I think it was more of a banterish, and I reached out to a few of those players that posted those comments, and they said, it's just banter between us. It's nothing too serious. But in today's day and age, there were people that screenshotted and was like, what's going on here? There's big dramas. So there wasn't. But yeah, you like Vic Law, right?
Solid kid. I think he's a Chicago kid. I knew his high school coach very well, and I saw him a bunch. And again, he's one of those tough kids that's sort of been around, played on some teams and things and summer leagues and stuff. Just a tough kid. I like him. He's solid. I think he'll have the right mentality and mindset going into international team and going to Australia and getting shit done. He's a mature kid. He'll act accordingly. He
was with the Bullets last year, so he's already here. But he was hurt. He got hurt mid-season, and he was a big out for him. But he knows the Australian game. They have actually. Do you know much about the coach they hired, Scott Morrison?
Yeah, so he was a Canadian guy. He coached in the D League. Was the Maine Red Claws head coach a few years after I left. Everybody likes him. Everybody that's met him, really knowledgeable guy. The Celtics liked him. I think he was a behind-the-bench guy with the Celtics, and really talented guy. Probably had nowhere to go after the whole Stevens thing happened when Stevens went to be the GM. And so, he probably just said, hey, you know what? I'll get more experience being a head coach than I would be maybe even, taking a chance at trying to get a behind the bench job in the NBA. So I applaud the guy. I think he's good. I think he's solid. He knows his stuff. He's supposed to be a really good person. He's a good coach. Players like him. So I think he'll do well. Do you know much about the Maker guy?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But just quickly, He's got the worst possible name to have in Australia right now, because our Prime Minister's name is Scott Morrison, and I think it's spelled exactly the same way. And he is hated at the moment, obviously, with everything going on. He's kind of he's pulled a few Houdinis throughout this crisis, and just no one knows where he is, and then he comes out and makes a statement, riles everyone up, then disappears again. So he has the worst possible name right now.
Folks, talk to the poor prick. You got to talk to the poor prick and say, hey, look, I'll be tweeting your name, but it ain't going to be you. So don't worry. Don't take offense to it.
Yeah, there was a funny meme put out by the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, just making fun of that. I can't remember exactly what it was. I reposted it, but then they had to delete it within five minutes of posting it. I assume someone with the government got to the NBL and made him delete it. But yeah, look, I'm biased, being a minority Kings owner, so I'll put that out there. But I think the roster we've built has been amazing. We've put together a really good roster. We'll be a very, very good team, I think. But yeah, McCool Maker as our next star, which will be fantastic. He's a highly touted guy. Went to Howard, I believe, over there. And yeah, he's decided to come back and go the NBL route. Another big signing for us was Jalen Adams. Do you know much about him out of the G League? Yeah,
Jalen Adams, good player, tough kid, young player, good player. I've seen him in some pre-draft stuff over the years, and saw him play in college. So yeah, I thought he was a good player. But I think it's a good sign.
Really good two-way player. Plays both
Yeah.
sides of the ball, which is very important. Look, our league in the NBL and even Europe to an extent, with a lot of imports, you're getting one or the other. If you're getting a flat-out scorer, they're not going to play defense. And if you're getting a grind defensive guy, they're probably not overly talented. So offensively, this guy's the best of both worlds. For those of you who don't know, he played for Chase Buford, our head coach in the G League. So there's familiarity there, and very big signing. And then obviously Makua Maker. RJ Hunter was one we did a while ago. So our rosters, we brought back some guys, Xavier Cooks and Jordan Hunter and Sean Bruce. So we have a really good balanced roster. And I like the way Chris Pongrass, Paul Smith, and Andrew Bogut have gone about building that roster. And Luke Longley. Luke Longley. Don't forget Luke Longley.
Of course. I'm sure Luke had a lot to say. But what I'm saying with the Maker thing was interesting because he was a really good, highly heralded player that had a lot of big-time scholarship offers. And he chose to go to Howard University, a HBIC school, historically black college, and didn't sort of played just a little bit and sort of shut it down. I don't know if he got hurt.
He got hurt, and they had the coronavirus. They were one of those schools that went real gung-ho on the coronavirus stuff, I believe. So it was a mix of everything. He didn't play. He was a potential lottery pick at that going into that year, I believe, for the following year. Yeah. So he's decided to try to build that stock back up through us, and he's still very, very talented 5-man, 4-5 that can handle the ball, long, athletic. Needs to put a little bit of weight on, but he has all the skills to be an NBA player. So hopefully, myself, Luke, and Chase there.
I like the Adams signing though. The Adams signing is good. I love them in St. Bonaventure. Like I said, tough, heady, borderline NBA player. Probably not an NBA player, but I think he would be a hell of an international player. I think fans will really enjoy watching the kid play.
I agree. Let's hope we're somewhere at the top of the table at the end of this crazy season. Matthew Dellavedova is now locked in with Melbourne United, I believe. That NBA out that he had has passed. I believe it was for the first 3 weeks of free agency. If he got a deal, he could walk from the NBL back to the NBA. So that's all done. So a lot of NBL fans, whether you're a United fan or not, will enjoy watching Matthew Dellavedova playing in the NBL. So that's kind of where we're at with the NBL. We're hoping it goes ahead. There was one small thing that I found interesting that has been discussed that was dropped by Jeremy Lowliga from the NBL. The NBL is considering replacements for road games for unvaccinated players. This is going to be very interesting. And I think this is at a talking point now. It's not concrete by any means. I don't think it's, I think it's on the fence for both sides. But if you sign a player from, let's say you sign an import for $400K and they don't want to get vaccinated, and then you're saying, well, we're not going to travel you, so you only get $200K, there's going to be a shitstorm brewing. So going to be real interesting to see how this is worded, how it gets implemented. Now, you're probably not familiar, but in Australia, traveling state to state now, they have implemented, if you're going to a certain state for work, like Queensland, for instance, WA, I think is the same. You need to have one dose of the vax at least. So there is problems brewing with sporting leagues here. And look, there's going to be players that don't want to take it. Every team has a few that are kind of anti it, whether cultural, religious, health reasons, and that's their right. I have no problem with that. So it's going to be interesting to see where this all goes. But leaving your star player because he's not vaccinated at home, if it is a star player, and then having him replaced and him not paid for that game is going to cause a whole lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the vaccination thing a bunch on the show, and I'll stay with it. Like, I think you should have the right to choose if you want to get it, not want to get it for any reason. But you have to pay the piper, though, when it comes to employment. You have to go what their guidelines are going to be. And like I said, you should have that choice. But and then again, if your employer says, hey, you have to do this, my opinion is that you just got to deal with it. It sucks, but it's going to be a shit show with professional athletes, though, if you're forcing them. This is the first wave of it because obviously the pro leagues, they haven't done that with the NFL, the NBA, what have you, about forcing vaccination on players. They just force it on the staff and referees now. So it'll be interesting to see now with the NBL testing that. If I'm getting $400,000 and you're telling me that, I'm only going to get $200 because I'm not traveling, that's going to be a shitstorm. It's going to probably be a lot of litigation, I would assume.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
I think it will. NBL and NBA. NBA just announced that basically everyone that has contact with a player needs to be vaccinated. That was overnight, including referees and besides players. So we discussed that a couple of weeks ago. What if you're an employee and you get fired because of it and the players aren't? There's kind of a double standard there. And it's the same, in the NBL, I think it's going to take, there's going to be a court case eventually and everyone's eyes are going to be on that court case, whether it's a wrongful restraint of trade, wrongful dismissal, how all that works, whatever argument you're on, there will eventually be a court case, whether it's the NBL, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a business. And that's going to be an ample time in history to figure out where society stands on it, ruling it, because, we don't, I don't condone people that are, you're an idiot for getting the vax, and I don't condone people that are saying you're an idiot for not getting the vax. I think everyone, like you said, makes their own decisions, but I think the division in communities is unacceptable in my opinion. I think everyone should have their choice, and my belief is that people are saying, well, if you don't get it, you're a detriment to community. From everything I read, I think vaccinated people are catching it as much as unvaccinated people. The initial strain, not so much, but with Delta, I think the numbers from what I've read in recent studies are pretty similar with viral loads in vaccinated and unvaccinated. So I think everyone has their right to choice with whatever side you sit on it, and I think it's no one's business but your own. So we'll watch that space and see what the NBL does, but testy times when state borders have different requirements. All right, useless or useful. Got a couple of good ones for you, Pro. The Sacramento Kings, first team in NBA history to win Summer League twice. That's from our friends at StatMuse.
That's as useless as me telling you that I skipped fucking a meal today. And it's going to really make a big difference in my fucking diet. Fuck no, that's not useful. That's as useless as anything. What do you think?
You can only win what's in front of you, though, bro. They've created history. 2 wins in Summer League. That's not an easy feat, bro.
They've won 5 more fucking Summer Leagues than they did fucking playoff series in the last decade. So don't worry about it. I don't think it's really translating these days.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think it's useless. But you can only win what's in front of you. Anyway, next one. James Harden has made more free throws than field goals in his career to date, bro. Useful or useless? Say
what? Really?
Yeah.
He's made more free throws than field goals in his career.
That is according to SportsCenter, which I have the screenshot in front of me and I'm just confirming so I don't get shit from anyone that I'm wrong.
Holy shit. But, no. I believe it. I'm just saying, wow, that is useful. That's fucking pretty impressive if that's the case. I know he had a few crazy years going to the line, I want to say like 10, 11, 12 times a game. He's calmed down a little bit on that, but he's had some years where he's gone to the line a bunch. That's crazy. That's a useful stat. I think that's pretty useful.
I agree.
What do you think?
I agree, man. That's bonkers. Because like you said, when I read it, I was like, where's the kicker? Is this a troll? Someone messing with me? But yeah, to made more free throws than field goals in his career. That's got to be. Has to be the only guy in history, correct? I know Wilt shot a lot of them, but he didn't make a lot of them, so he wouldn't be close to that number, but James shoots them at 80-90% clip, right? So it's just
Why don't our StatMuse guys, instead of trying to take over the fucking world with their stat geek androids, fucking trying to get after Sarah Connor from fucking Terminator, why don't they get off their ass and fucking do some stat research on that one? That would actually be a good one.
What do you want to know? If anyone else has done it?
I want to know I want to know if anyone else has done it.
Good. Okay. StatMuse. Call to arms.
Yeah, get off it.
Yeah, find out. We want to know. Put it in your bot. They should get in a couple of minutes. It's that quick. So we want to know if anyone else in NBA history. I'm going under, Pro. What are you going? I don't think anyone else has done that in NBA history. Like,
I don't think anyone
with bulk numbers, that is. Like, I'm not talking about guys that have played 4 minutes a game. I'm talking, you need to be actually play in the league for a while and play some decent minutes. But I think that would be a first and only.
Yeah. I think StatMuse needs to, they need to look it up, update their blog because they haven't updated their blog since Havlicek stole the fucking ball, and they need to fucking do some research on this one.
Okay, let us know, StatMuse. We'll at you in this clip, hopefully. This one's a long one. Useful or useless? Greatest resumes at 26 years old, Pro. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 2-time MVP, champion, Rookie of the Year, 5-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense. Tim Duncan, MVP, champion, Finals MVP, Rookie of the Year, 4-time All-Star, 5 times All-NBA, 5 times All-Defense. And Giannis, that's why we're doing this studies, because he's topical. 2-time MVP, champion, Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, 5 times All-Star, 5 times All-NBA, 4 times All-Defense. Are they useful or useless, 26-year-olds?
No, it's pretty useful to see where those guys are at 26 years old. And don't forget, Kareem had to play college, and I don't know when he came out, but I think he was either 3 or 4 years before he started his.
So did Duncan, though. Didn't he go 3 or 4 years?
That's a good point. He did. I was thinking, I had Giannis vision there for a second, but yeah, you're right. He did.
Yeah.
He did, for sure. I think it's useful. I think those are great resumes, man. I mean, at 26 years old to do what they did. I mean, Kobe, Jordan, Garnett, those guys didn't really get going for a few years, and these guys 4 or 5 years into the kick, they're all, multiple year All-Stars, MVP, it's pretty impressive. What do you think?
Yeah, it's useful. I mean, that's an impressive resume for a whole career, right? Do that at 26. Very, very impressive, and I think Giannis is going to continue to add to that. But that was from our friends at StatMuse again, so appreciate those ones. Fact or fake news? I'm flying blind. I don't have these on my run sheet, Pro, so surprise me.
I'll give you a couple that I think, that sort of interests me. All right, so fact or fake news? So last year, Cleveland, to my estimation, Bogues, they won, just let me get the numbers right. Cleveland Cavaliers won 22 games out of 72. They won 22 games. So let's just say out of an 82-game season, they would have won, say, 24 games. Are they 10 wins better than they were last year based on signing Jared Allen, the moves that they made draft-wise, traded for marketing? They've got Mobley, who they got in the draft, a high pick.
Rubio.
Are they 10 They are 10 games better than they were last year. They will win 34 games.
Fake news. Nah, they're not there yet. I think they're still, to me, it's still, I get what they're trying to build. Jared Allen, good role-playing big, is needed for the guards that they have and the ball usage that the guards take up. I think Rubio helps them a little bit as well. He had a great Olympics, but it's still kind of somewhat, just doesn't mesh this roster for me yet. And it's still, who's the alpha dog on this roster? I still don't know. Some would say, Sexton. Some would say Garland as the younger guys. Then they've got some highly touted young picks coming in, so I don't think it's there. There's going to be some growing pains with the guys they've drafted. The names I just mentioned about whose team is this, who's the man. So that's going to take time. So factoring all that in, yeah, I think it's fake news. I don't think they get 34 or over. I think they're about a year or two away from. If this all goes well, chemistry-wise, they mesh. I think they're a year or two away from at least being close to the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, I say it's fake news as well. I don't think they're ready yet. And plus, for them to win the way that we're asking them to win in this question, they're going to have to leapfrog some teams. So last year, they finished 13th out of 15th in the conference. And who are you going to leapfrog? So beneath them were Orlando and Detroit, which I still think they're better than that. They're very much better than that. Then you get the Toronto Raptors. You've got Chicago. So Toronto, I think Toronto, they could maybe get a little bit of, a couple of games better than. Okay, that might be one team. But then you've got Charlotte, who's still good. They're better. They're a little bit better. Chicago's better. Washington's going to take a little bit of a hit, obviously, from the, trade in Westbrook and all that. So I just don't think there's enough teams for them to leapfrog to get to 10 more wins, 34 wins on the season. So I just don't think they're there yet. Look, if Marketing could sort of take a step up, because Marketing's not like this great player either, but he's a good player that could stretch the floor for you. He could be a little bit better than Kevin Love, at this stage of his career, for you. But I don't think they're good enough. So yeah, I say fake news as well. All right, Bogues, we got one more here. Let's go to the Western Conference version of this. So somebody in the media sort of was shitting on San Antonio a little bit as far as their offseason moves and things. So said that they giving them, I think they gave them a C or C minus in sort of their offseason. So last year they finished 10th. Will the San Antonio Spurs finish in the top 8 next year? They will finish 8th or better next year based on their moves.
Fake news. I think the West is too deep, man. I think the West just has a lot going for it. New Orleans will be wrestling in there somewhere. Let's not forget Golden State are healthier and they'll be better. They'll be probably top 5, somewhere around there, top 4, top 5. The Lakers obviously have retooled. The Clippers will still be up there. Dallas, Denver.
Let me rephrase then. Will they be at least a play-in team? Because they were 10th last year. At 33 and 39, they were 10th last year.
Yeah,
Are they
it's a coin flip.
in the top 10?
Top 10. Top 10, it's a coin flip in my opinion, so you can go either way. If I have to call it now, I will say fact, they will be in the 10 just because of that San Antonio churn out some wins at home. They'll find some rhythm on that rodeo trip. They'll get it together and steal some wins, and they're not going to beat themselves. And in an NBA regular season, we know that there are times where teams beat themselves. They had a late night. They, were out too late in the morning. They didn't get rest, blah, 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 blah. And the Spurs will capitalize on those games. So I think they'll get enough wins to be in the 10. I just don't think they'll be a playoff team.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because here, again, who are they going to leapfrog? So they're at 10. Sacramento finished 2 games behind them last year. New Orleans finished 2 games behind them. I don't think Minnesota's going to make that much of a jump. And I don't think Oklahoma City or Houston, those are the bottom 3 in the West. But, I don't think anybody's really dropping out of the 8. So, you got Utah, Phoenix, Denver, Clippers. Now, the Clippers could make a fall a little bit without Kawhi, but, how far are they going to really fall, though? Then you got Dallas and the Lakers and Portland. Golden State's going to be better. Memphis is going to be good. And then you got New Orleans that you don't know what's going to happen with New Orleans. So, yeah, I think they're going to drop out of the top 10, to be honest with you. Now, I've said that that Denver wasn't going to be all that great and Utah wasn't going to be that great. Utah finishes fucking first in the league, and I thought they were going to be a borderline playoff team. Again, I don't know why I even make these fucking picks. You might as well throw them out, throw off the fucking piece of paper, burn it, and piss on it, because it's worth absolutely nothing when I make a prediction. But I don't think I say fake news they're going to finish out of the top 10.
Yeah, okay. It's going to be interesting. They have retoored a fair bit. They've made some moves. So, and it is our guy, Jock Landale. Maybe he'll carry them to the promised land and come on the pod and tell us how much of an idiot we both are.
Yeah, as long as he wears that fisherman's hat, I'm good with it.
All right, Q&As now. Before we get into the Q&As, special announcement. We, in the future...
I'm fired?
No, not yet.
Ah.
In the future, we're going to be moving our Q&As. They'll still be on this pod at times, but for the most part, we're going to move to a live portion of the Q&A app. So we record generally on a Sunday at 11 a.m. Australian time, and we will be providing a Q&A platform for people to live join us and chat about whatever they want to chat about rather than me reading them out. We'll actually have people ask them in their own words and join kind of a chat. So look out for that. It will be hopefully announced in the next couple of weeks. It is a brand new app we can't name right now that is coming out that will be groundbreaking in the podcast world. It's really going to create some ripples. So keep a lookout for that, and it just saves me and Pro having to read these out. But here is the Q&A this week. Good evening, Andrew. Enjoy listening to the podcast with Pro on the insights to give on life behind the curtain in the NBA. I have 2 questions. Number 1, has Pro ever tried a meat pie? And if so, does he have an opinion on our national snack? And 2, given the success of the wide-reaching audience your podcast has in Australia and abroad, is Pro now famous enough to become a brand ambassador for a meat pie company? There is no sarcasm to my question. Ben Simmons obviously has a business deal with 4 and 20. They make pies, Pro. That was being played to death here in Australia in the playoffs and Olympics, despite him doing bugger all in either. Okay. So could a company look to pivot and make Pro the face of their franchise? Even a cameo with his new BFF Andrew Gaze. I can see the tagline now. I'm an educated guy and I know it's about time to eat a salad, but my hero Andrew Bleeping Gaze just gave me insert sponsor here, meat pie, and it's too good to refuse. He's unlikely going to fetch the same endorsement check that Ben Simmons did, but in light of recent events, the Australian public will connect better with Pro. Thanks again for the podcast, Jack. Now, Pro, have you ever tried an Australian meat pie?
I have not. Now, a couple of things here. First off, I tried a meat pie, a Portuguese meat pie, and I liked it. It was really good. I'm from Fall River, Massachusetts. Second, believe it or not, Bogues, I haven't eaten meat in about 5.5 years, going on almost 6 years.
That's right. I forgot. You're the biggest vegan in the world.
Yeah. I eat everything else. Don't get this fucking twisted. I did this one-off season. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just not going to eat meat. See how I feel. See how it is. I eat everything fucking else. No chicken though. No red meat. No chicken or meat or anything like that. Just everything fucking else. Literally everything else. But so I don't eat meat. Maybe you could do that plant-based meat stuff.
So you do the fake meat. You do the fake meat?
Yeah, fuck yeah, I do. Actually, you know what? Harrison Barnes.
Sacrilege. That is sacrilege, bro. That is sacrilege.
What?
Eating fake meat.
But bro, here's the thing. I didn't know. I've eaten vegetable burgers before, and they were fucking disgusting, and they were brutal. They have, I forgot the company that he had. Whole Foods has it. So the Mavs had I don't know if they were a sponsor of the team.
It was Beyond Meat or something?
Beyond Meat. And they had a bunch of them in the big, pan, and guys were eating it. Half these motherfuckers didn't know it wasn't meat. And I knew it wasn't meat because it said Beyond Meat, and I sort of read into it. But I had one, and I could not tell the fucking difference. I could not. Now, I would never do chicken, sausage. I would never do that for Beyond Meat because I think that I don't know how the fuck you could pull that one off. And I know it's not really good for you. I know they must. I mean, the chemicals they must use in that fucking thing to make it taste like meat is ridiculous. But since I put so many vile things in my body in the last that are non-drug related in the last 46 years, it's literally putting lipstick on a pig anyway, literally and figuratively. But I'm telling you, Bogues, if you had a Beyond Meat burger and no one told you, I'd be interested in seeing if you know the difference.
Yeah, I'm more a principle guy. Sacrilege, I just would never do it. I just
okay, I got you, and I respect that.
And I'm sure I know my son the other day, my wife at least, I haven't really met him too much. They're at the kids' sport that they go to. There's a couple of parents there that are all in vegans, right? And they took the kids to a vegan taco spot after the sport that my wife went to, and my son bit into it and spat it out and said, "This is not real."
Oh shit!
This is not real. He's 5 years old, man. He spat it out and was crying about it, just like, "This isn't a taco. What is this?" Like, yeah, mate, that's a plant-based taco. So he's not a fan. So definitely my kid.
No paternity test needed. He's your kid.
Yeah, definitely my kid. All right, I guess once they get I'm sure they have a vegetarian already. We'll get you on the face of it. Next one,
Hey, I'm in.
Yeah, anything food you should be in. I just find it funny that you remember the exact city and spot you ate your last meat pie. That was more impressive.
Yeah. It's Portuguese. It's where Chris Herron's from, actually, Fall River, and it's a Portuguese delicacy. And they brought them, and I ate a couple. They were really fucking good.
Yeah, I don't know.
They were really fucking good.
You probably got the timestamp as well, 2:45 p.m.
Oh, without question.
Had a side
Bogues,
of this.
I'm a 2.01 student, but I know food.
Yeah. All right, next one. Hi, Bogues and Pro. It seems to be that Dallas can't get any big-name free agents to come to Dallas. Thinking that Luka would be a massive positive. Why is it that we can't, I assume he's a fan, he says we can't attract any big-name players to come to the Big D? Who, in your opinion, can get us out of the first round of the West and possibly contend for a title? Cheers and go, Boomers. That's Mark from Tarneet. You'd probably be better suited to answer this one, but it has been interesting. The Mavs who was the last big-name free agent they signed, Pro? I'm talking like first tier, someone you'd have in your top 25, 30 elite players in the league.
Bogues, I really can't remember one. I mean, I know they went after...
Was Michael Finley a trade or a sign?
No, he was trade. Yeah, he was trade. He traded for Steve Nash, I believe. Yeah, I think he came from Phoenix, and Nash went out. Free agencies. Look, they got Harrison Barnes when they struck out on. I think they were going to get what's his name? Who was the big kid that played in Miami? Whiteside. I think they wanted Whiteside, and they said no, and then they got Harrison. If I'm not mistaken, that happened. Where they were going to offer him like the max, and he ended up going back to Miami, and then they got Harrison. And then the Dwight Howard thing. They thought they were going to get Howard, they didn't. They got Wes Matthews that year. He wasn't a top 30 player. Yeah, it's tough. Free agency is very tricky, Bogues. And look, you need a lot of luck. And cap room's the most fucking overrated thing you could ever have. Because most players don't want to go to almost any city unless A, you're going to win. B, it's a great fucking city, like a party city. And every city sort of has their, you could find fun in almost any NBA city or suburb of an NBA city. So that's not a big deal. But having this cap room is really tricky because A, you need the right free agent to be available when you have the money, when you have actual big money. The Mavs didn't have big money this year. And everybody was basically sewn up, Kawhi was going to go back. Giannis already signed his deal. There wasn't really anybody that's really available for them. So they ended up using most of their cap room on re-signing Tim Hardaway Jr. But it's a finicky thing, man. Having cap room players want to come to you. Yeah, they had Luka, but like again, there was no one really. There was really nobody available. So I don't know. I think it's sort of I don't know.
Just one of those things. Yeah, it's strange. It's just they don't get it. But let's not forget the Golden State Warriors were in this same position right before I got there, really, for 10, 15, 20 years. People, they would call free agents for a pitch meeting and they get laughed out of the room. This was probably before they, even a couple of years after they drafted Steph. So they went through the same thing and they've bounced back. You got to build it up enough. And Dallas isn't a bad city to live in. It's warm. It's got everything you need. So it's just a strange one. You can understand if it's a smaller, colder city, an OKC or a Detroit or an Indiana, like you could understand it. But Dallas, it's central, it's nice, it's cheap to live, no state tax. There's a lot of positives. They should have an opportunity to sign a bit more elite free agents, in my opinion. But
it's a top 3.
Top 3?
Yeah, it's a top 3 NBA city. Well, here's the thing. Here's the reason why I think it's a top 3. Well, so let's say top 5 NBA city. It's safe. It's good weather. No taxes. To play there, first of all, you have an owner that would, that's going to try to do anything to win. You've got fan base that's crazy. They're unbelievably, they love you to death. The media, you can go 0-82. The media ain't going to say shit to you. Like they haven't made out of the first round in 10 years, and nobody locally wrote shit about it. They don't give a fuck. They like if the fucking they care about the Dallas Cowboys, and that's it in college football. They don't give they don't really care about killing. It's not like New York where like everybody's trying to kill you if you lose a game and this and that, and they got a microscope over you. They don't, a magnifying glass. They don't have that in Dallas. So it's a good city, good people, safe, no state tax, warm weather. It's very manageable as far as like getting property. I love it. I love it. Imagine being in like Minnesota, Oklahoma, Houston, fucking Memphis, New Orleans. Like I love California, but California's a cock tease. You can't afford to live there. Most people can't. You can't really own anything because it's so expensive unless you're a max level player where it doesn't really matter. I like Phoenix, but I think Dallas is a really good. Like, who would you rather be right now? Would you rather live in Dallas or New York City?
Oh, Dallas any day of the week. I'm not a big city guy. I like.
No.
I'd go to New York 4 or 5 days, see the restaurants, do some shopping, have the missus run up my credit card, and then have to work for another 4 years to pay it off. But then, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of walking out of my door into traffic and scooters and bikes and horns and all kinds of shit. I definitely I enjoyed my time in Dallas off the court. On the court, not so much, but on the court was fine. And I think it's a great city. It's accessible. It's central to everything. It's great weather. Like I said, no state tax. The people to me they cop shit for some reason, but they're very, very friendly. What you see is what you get type people. So I had no issues there, and I agree it's up there. But most NBA players they want that marketing and that bang. But yeah, it's just is an interesting one.
Dallas got to win. They got to win.
Yeah, well, they have been. They've been a winning team the last, even though they haven't been deep into the playoffs since the championship. It's not like you're going to a Cleveland where you're in a shitty city and you're rebuilding. Like they're on the brink. They got a top 10, top 5, arguably elite player on their roster. Why can't they get a second? Some would argue it's Porzingis, but he wasn't brought over. He came in a trade. Why can't they get a pitch meeting with these big time free agents? Kawhi Leonard when he was a free agent, all these kind of guys. It's just a strange one, right? It's LA will get the pitchers and Golden State, but they're just not.
Bogues, I think they got to win a playoff series. I think teams and play. You know how players are. They don't know about Dallas yet as far as look, they got one of the best players in the league, obviously there, but I think if I'm not going to go to LA, and every player wants to be in fucking LA. Every player wants to be in LA. Laker, Clipper, it doesn't matter. I think that they got to win and have a chance to win the West. And I think once that happens, and look, it's inevitable that it should. They've got an MVP, a guy who's going to win an MVP, if not multiple, on their team. They just got to figure it out, and they got to figure a way to get out of one round, 2 rounds, and then I think a player is going to finally say, fuck it, I want to come. But acquiring these players, man, it's finicky. You need the money, or you need the assets to get a player like that. So say Bradley Beal's available to them right now. Now, it's not free agency, but it's trade. Like, it's like free agency, to be honest, if they're going to try to, if he wants out of Washington and you can get him. Like, what are you going to give up to get him? You don't have anything. You've got great role players in your team, but you don't have anybody that Washington's like besides Luka Doncic that's going to be like, yeah, we'll take this for this. Like, you don't have the assets to do it. Like, they've got most of their money, besides with Luka and Porzingis, they got a lot of money tied up in these role guys, but they don't really have these great players, like, to acquire a great player. But free agency, I think to pry somebody out of going to, like, an LA, they don't want to go to New York anymore. Brooklyn was a special thing when those guys came there. They want to go to LA, they want to go to Miami. You know, they love Phoenix, and I think that they're going to start to get play. They like Chicago, but, like, to pry those guys out of the big-time cities, I think to go to a Dallas, you got to say, okay, they made it to the Western Conference Finals, or they Game 7 of the semi. They almost got to the conference final, and they're on the brink. Okay, I'm going to go there, put them over the edge. I just don't think they're going to commit to Dallas until they get out of the rounds. That's my opinion. I don't know why. If I'm a player, I want to play with Luka Doncic. He makes my job a lot easier with his passing ability. He's going to find me. But I just think that, I think they just got to win. They haven't got out of the first round in 10 years, dude. That's a long fucking time, man.
Yeah. Well, Sacramento Kings haven't been in the playoffs for how long? So
good point.
For a team that hasn't won that much, it's still one of the best cities for that team that's in that 7 to 10 bracket, you know. And I guess it just depends what you want, but we'll follow it closely. Hopefully they'll get at least a pitch meeting, and hopefully we'll get one of our friends on in the next couple of episodes to talk about an infamous free agency story that we
I hope so.
That we spoke about off mic, which is an absolute doozy. I hope you'll talk about it, Pro. We'll see because it's a Pro said off air.
Best NBA story I ever heard. Best NBA story by far I've ever heard.
We'll get him on. Hopefully we'll talk about it, but that'll be a surprise in the future. Last question. Hey, Bogues and Pro, love your insights on the pod. Really enjoyed the My Journey series, Bogues, and really enjoyed your contributions on Olympic coverage as well. Thank you. I have 2 questions. What's the protocol for handshaking after the game in the NBA? I'm talking pre-COVID. I noticed most players leave the floor straight away. Only a few stick around. Do you usually only shake hands at the end of a series? It just seems different to the way we're brought up playing sport in Australia. I'll answer that first before I get to the next one. Yeah, it was weird, bro. In Australia, we're taught to shake hands after every game, whether it's a practice game, whether it's a 5-game series, which I find that strange. There was a playoff series 3 or 4 years ago that was a testy final series between Adelaide and Melbourne. And they have to shake hands after every game in the series, right? And I think in game 2, I believe it was, or 3, I could be wrong, there was a little scuffle in the handshake line because they still had games left. So it was getting testy, playoff series. I think they actually suspended or almost suspended a few guys because of it. So I'm against it in Australia in a playoff series. I think you shake hands at the end of a playoff series just because you're trying to kill each other for 5 games. And then once the series is over, you do it. But the nightly basis one in the NBA is strange. It's a different culture that I had to kind of get over. You see some guys doing it, but it's not, like for instance, at the end of a game here, Pro in the NBL, game 35 of the season, everyone lines up and shakes hands. It's just is what it is. But in the States, everyone just kind of walks off and does their own thing. You got guys doing interviews. You got guys, catching up with a former teammate or a guy they played with in high school. And then you got, most people like me that are just like, get me off this court as soon as possible after the game's over. So it is a strange one, Pro. I'm not sure if you've noticed that. How is it in high school and college? Do you shake hands still after every game?
Yeah, these guys today, everybody wants to shake hands, man. Everybody wants to be, that's just what they do. They love shaking everybody's hands. There's a few people that will walk off, but not even close to the amount that they used to be. Like most people just get the fuck out of there. But now they just, when
I first came in the league, it was no one. When I first came in the NBA as a rookie, 2005, 6, it was the horn went, and it was like the most you would get is a point. You get like, hey man, catch you later, man. Like from 50 feet away, like the coaches do it all the time. But now, it's definitely getting. I don't mind it. I don't like it in a playoff series for the reasons I said, because you can have a little scuffle ensue. But it is probably a cultural thing as well, where we're taught here you always shake hands at the end of a game, win or loss, and it depends what you like.
Yeah, I mean, now they want to trade jerseys. They want to do each other's taxes.
The trade jerseys thing is fucking, oh man.
Yeah, I can't stand that shit. I mean, look, it's your personal preference, right? I just can't stand it. I don't know why.
No, why I can't. Let me give you the reason why I can't stand it. Because that's been a thing for years. It was just done behind the scenes, bro. It was done.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but like when you played a team, so say we were playing the Lakers, right? And I've got a foundation. I would ask the ball boy, hey, I've got a Kobe jersey here.
Yes.
Can you take it in, have him sign it for me, and then bring it back? And players would do that for each other. It was just done behind the scenes. Now it's all for production now. It's all for, look at me. I'm shot, it's this guy's last season. I want to swap my jersey. Oh, Jesus Christ, get over it.
Instagram.
Yeah.
It is funny. Didn't JaVale McGee tried to trade with Luka. Luka says no. There was somebody that Luka said no to.
Yeah.
It was fucking. I thought it was JaVale, but maybe
I don't
not.
think it was JaVale because he played with him. He would play with him, right? For a year. He was there for a year, wasn't he? Oh no, was that?
Not with Luka though.
Not with Luka. No, I remember that. We spoke about it. I can't remember who it was. But yeah. It was for all the people out there that used to be done behind the scenes and you didn't get social media clout for it, but that's all changed. Next question he had in his two-part series was, the night Clay scored 37 and a quarter, what was it like being there? Have you ever seen anything like that on any level on a basketball court? P.S. Love the stories. A part of purely behind-the-scenes story would be a great listen. Cheers. That's from Matt. So the Clay night was crazy. I've seen, I play with Steph Curry too, so he would get hot, but that Clay quarter was just ridiculous. If you watch the start, a funny story from this, if you watch the start of that 37-point onslaught, I think he was at point 10 or something. There was a play where I was posting up and I was kind of half open and Clay had it on the wing and I'm like, throw me the ball. He didn't throw it. He shot it and you see my face like, dude, what the fuck? Pass me the ball. And he made it and then went on to have 37 in the quarter. So I still remember seeing the clip like angry Bogues not getting the post touch, but unbelievable, man. Like it was at a point where it was just so automatic. And the beauty of that team was we were part of that. We enjoyed when guys went through those phases of getting hot, mainly Steph and Clay, where we wanted to go out of our way. Like it was like, don't worry about the offense. Let's just run 50 handoffs for Clay this next whole quarter. Just try to get him 50 in a quarter. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. I've never seen anything like it. And it'll go down in history as that. I don't think that number's going to ever be beaten again.
Yeah, that game was ridiculous, man. Like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, just watching all that shit. I would have been like, I would have been like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. Just the amount of shots he was making and the efficiency and all that stuff.
The degree of difficulty, after he had 20, they were running at him at the half and he was just moving off the ball so well, coming off screens. And it was a Sacramento Kings, so it took him a while to adjust, shockingly. Hey, we might want to hedge on this guy. We might want to run him off the three. But yeah, it was unbelievable. Like, and you watch our bench, probably the last 10 or 15 points of that 37, our bench was all on the court, doing, sliding on the ground, jumping up and down. Even the guys on the court were just like, dude, like, what is going on? And the best thing is, at the end of the game, like, you wouldn't know Clay had 37 because he's that kind of guy. Like, you'd be like, he'd just be back in the locker room, kind of just hanging out, having a beer or whatever, and you wouldn't know he had 37. That's what I loved about Klay Thompson. He just kind of was nonchalant about the highs and lows of the NBA. You would never know. And actually, there was a funny story I just read. I can't remember. It was maybe on a podcast. It was on Hoops Hype or one of those internet slides that you see, one of those pictures with writing on it, where Monte Ellis, he played with Monte Ellis his rookie year, and Monte was getting frustrated because Clay kept shooting the ball and he was a rookie, and apparently Monte Ellis laid into him and was like, dude, Rook, pass the ball. What the F are you doing? What the F are you doing? Like, really laid into him. Clay didn't say anything, and then, like, the very next play down the court, an early swing, just shot it. Just like, and I can't remember who the player was that was talking about it, was just talking about more like, this kid's going to be a killer. This kid's going to be, he's going to be a killer because he just, getting cussed out by a 10-year veteran that was supposed to be his team and just basically didn't say a word and just shot the next one, just didn't give a shit, and that's the mentality you got to have as a scorer in the NBA pro.
Yeah, you really do. You really do need to, you need that mentality, especially a young player. I think most of what you have is your confidence in yourself, because you know how it is. It's going to, someone's going to eat your lunch, and to be able to like overcome this thing where you're going to get yourself on track to be a great player in this league, you need to have extreme confidence in yourself and you need to believe in it. And it's funny because people think that everyone's got this confidence, and we all know, you and I definitely know, behind the scenes there's a bunch of players in the league that are very fragile and have very little confidence in themselves when they look themselves in the mirror. When they're in the locker room, they'll talk that shit like they do, but a lot of players don't, and they're scared shit. and they can't perform at that level. And that's why there's a big difference between someone who could put up numbers and somebody who could carry an organization. It takes big balls to do what Klay Thompson did, you did, even Monte Ellis did for a period of time. It takes big balls to believe in yourself, because there's going to be those nights where like it's not falling, and you gotta pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go to the next one. And there's not a lot of players that could sort of survive. That's why a lot of these players burn out after year 3, year 4, year 5. There's a lot of pressure. Not only do you have to be good enough physically, but the mental part is such a big part of things, you know?
I agree. Yeah, it's the ups and the downs, and you just got to push through it. And I've had both ends of that stick, and you just got to get on with it. But that is episode 35, Pro. We are tomorrow in Australia, or in a couple of days in Australia. It is spring, so we are terming this, Pro, even though you're on the other side of the world and you're not going into spring, you're going into autumn. This is spring break. We're going to sign off for the month of September, people. We're going to take a break. Hopefully, Pro does not come back bigger, right?
I think it's impossible. Let's fucking be honest. Although I'll tell you a story, Bogues. My fucking air sole blew up.
Did you say asshole?
Like my Nike.
Asshole or air sole?
No, that's been blown up for a while. I'm talking about my air sole. My air sole. I must be. They're gonna bring me on trial for crimes against humanity. What I did for this poor bastard. No, it's like blown up, Bogues. It's like a fucking grapefruit, and like. I don't know what I was doing. I was working a kid out last week or something like that, and I noticed my shoe was a little weird. I noticed one shoe was flat on the bottom, as it should be. The sole, the other sole, it's like a grapefruit on the bottom. I must have fucking blew that. There must be a weight limit, obviously.
100%.
There's probably sparks on that fucking thing.
You got to read the fine print, but yeah, had a flat tire.
It's like lobster when you put it in a boiler.
But anyway, yeah, we're taking the month off, because there's not a whole lot going on besides the NBA gossip stuff. We'd like to get into that a little bit, but don't want a whole show about NBA soap opera drama. So we're going to take the month of September off, and we will catch you back in early October to discuss what will be the preseason, and hopefully all our rosters will be fully set by then. Maybe a few trades along the way, but appreciate all the support, and we will catch you again early October.